Bienvenidos to Season 3 of Humans in Accounting podcast. In a world full of AI, automation, and endless workflows, we pause for a moment to focus on the real humans behind the numbers. Founders, leaders, humans share their journey, what drives them, and the moments that shape their path. Because behind every balance sheet, there's always a story worth telling. Humans in Accounting is brought to you by South Offices. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Humans in Accounting, where leaders share their story behind the spreadsheets. I'm Alex Roman, and this podcast is brought to you by South Offices, connecting accounting talent across borders. Today, I'm super excited to introduce Eman Abdur-Rahman. Eman is the founder and CEO at Your Virtual Keeper. Eman, welcome to Humans in Accounting. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being part. I'm happy. The truth is that we wanted just to record this a few weeks ago, and we weren't able just to. We tried, but now today is the day, and I'm super happy just to have you here in Humans in Accounting. The truth is that we never met physically. We talked, I think, like a year ago, something like that, through an introduction. And today here we are recording this episode of Humans in Accounting. So super happy we're doing this. Eman, let's start from the beginning. I think it's super interesting, and I'm happy, to have you here because you came not from a traditional formal accounting background. You came from operations. So I like maybe if you can share a little bit with us your background and how you ended up starting your own firm. I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So unlike a lot of accountants, my background, like you said, is not actually formally in accounting. So a mixture between two things. I've always been in business operations. So whether it was being the wearer of all hats for my husband's and I's multiple businesses that we've had in the past, even in a corporate setting, I always served as a business office manager. So I was always finance adjacent, but not necessarily in finance. And what that really has helped for me is it's given me the perspective of an entrepreneur and a business owner and what's really important and what do they actually have time to digest, understand, and then use that said information to make a decision going forward. And so when 2020 hit, right, like a lot of business owners, their story is COVID came and it was difficult and they didn't know what to do. And then they took the leap to become an entrepreneur. And so that's what happened similar to me. It started off as just consulting on business operations. And every time I would get behind the scenes, and I would try to set up infrastructure or, create a workflow for their admin process, it always tied back to just a lack of organization in their finances. So I said, you know what? Why not? Why don't I take the operations side that I have experience with, the just real life experience of needing to know what's going on in a business from a finance perspective, just with our previous businesses, and I combine the two, and it's going on 7 years. So it's been a long time since I've jumped ship and I've been doing this.
This is great. And let me take you back. This says 7 years ago. As I'm super interested in understanding, and I'm asking each guest like how they actually started. Like what was it because you had like first some clients that you were serving, and then you said, hey, hold on, maybe this could be a good idea. I'll just start my firm. You had a name and day one. This was something that came through the years. How was that? I'm interested in knowing, like, the first few clients. How was that experience?
Yeah, so I always maintain, even when I had a corporate job, I always maintained consulting clients. So technically, my firm existed since 2019, end of 2018 into 2019. And so because I had already built those relationships, it was an easier transition to going full time. It was just a matter of going back to my former clients, going back to the small community that I had of other entrepreneurs and saying, hey, we're offering accounting. And to be honest, the first few clients that I ever received was through Thumbtack. I created a
Okay.
profile. I used Thumbtack. I think I used Bark at one point. Very, very, very few times that I got on the platform. And then it sort of spiraled from there. So from meeting clients through Thumbtack, they referring me, and it just grew and grew and grew. And just trying to build through networking, specifically on like financial, I guess you could call them like financial workplace platforms, like websites like Faro. And then the rest was history. It sort of just like continued forward.
Okay. And as far as the name, I really like the name, by the way. Was it something that came on the first years, or
I mean,
something that
yeah, your virtual keeper was something I always had. I liked the idea of building a virtual business, being that I had to drive an hour and a half to get into
right,
DC, or, to drive it to where my clients' locations were after work. And I was like, I need people to understand that if I'm going to do this, it's going to be virtual, even
right.
before virtual was a thing. And so, like, I just got to play on words with my siblings. And they were like, yeah, your virtual keeper, your virtual assistant. And we just sort of played around with it. And the whole thing comes down to, we're here to support our clients. We're sort of like the keeper that holds the key to make everything flow for them.
Right.
Again, at the time, I assumed that I was going to stay into the operations strategy side, but then, yeah, it sort of was able to mold itself into the accounting space as well. Like most people assume you're virtual bookkeeper. And so there's sort of like that play on words there. So it worked out. I'm glad I didn't have to change the name or, do that whole rebranding that way.
Well, that's great. That's great. And then let me ask you a question. You mentioned about your clients. Do you work with a specific type of a niche, a specific type of clients,
Yeah. So
an
when
industry?
we got started, we primarily worked with a lot of Fortune 100 and 200 companies. So we would only have like very few clients because we were doing accounts receivables, payables, payroll. We were doing the whole thing. Then sort of the second iteration came where we sort of left that industry, helped them find an internal accounting person because it got to be too cumbersome to continue
Okay.
working as like an external team. Uh, help them graduate, and then we shifted to like a middle market clientele, not really niche specific. It really was they had to have a certain revenue area, so between 2 to 15 million was where we like to sit at. And then recently we are actually going through another rebrand, so going into year 7, our new rebrand is really focusing on more partnerships with
Okay.
existing accounting and tax firms. So we will serve as this embedded accounting department, so to speak. But it's a partnership in the sense that myself, my team, my leadership team, and this CPA partner will work with them with building their proposals, onboarding, offboarding, getting the whole process start to finish taken care of.
Well, that's super interesting. So, I mean, you'll be working directly with accounting firms, and you'll be like, yeah, those would be the your new client, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. This branding sort of came about just because now that we're entering our 7th year, I realize my passions really lie still in operations and systems. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to partner with someone who loves the tax side, which we don't do, most firms are going towards advisory. We really are staying true to the day to day bookkeeping tasks that we enjoy. It's a repeatable process. It's easy to have like a workflow to build around it. The idea is when we go into this partnership that it's going to become something that's long lasting. And so we get 1 or 2 partnerships, and then we just build with them until they reach capacity, we reach capacity, and then, we readjust as we go along.
Okay, that's super interesting. And you never do. I mean, all these years, for instance, taxes. It was something that you never did, right?
No, no, no. No
For
taxes, sales taxes. Payroll was once we left supporting the Fortune 200 companies, we left payroll altogether. We have very consistently maintained only the day-to-day accounting, reconciling at the end of the month, just because our model of business, I wanted it to be a repeatable,
right.
cycle. I didn't want anything that could, oh, we forgot to get a specific invoice counted for sales tax, or we forgot, somebody didn't turn in their timesheets. I wanted something that was always going to be a very predictable, repeatable workflow. Again, that's just like the operations and systems part of my brain that seeks joy in that type of format. And so we never branched out into offering those. And I don't think we ever will.
Okay. I understand, but I'm imagining, or I think that maybe during the 7 years, maybe there was one or two clients who were happy working with you and said, "Hey, you know what? Maybe you can help me out with taxes." I'm pretty sure that might have happened before. How? My question is, you ended up, yeah, suggesting maybe another partner, or how did you? That was the way, right?
Yeah,
You
so we
you
automatically referred it out. We kept,
you referred it.
different relationships with CPAs, tax preparers, A's, folks that specialized in sales tax, and we always would give that relationship to those individuals because again, we enjoyed what we did. And while, just again, from being an entrepreneur, I know how to do these things. I
Right.
always try to maintain that this is our lane of focus. This is what we enjoy, and we have amazing partnerships with these other firms that will have them come in and take care of it instead of us trying to be everything at once.
Perfect. Super tidy. This is humans in accounting, and maybe basically our audience are mainly humans that are in accounting. So I'm sure maybe there are one or two, yes, accounting firms who could benefit of, reaching out to you and working with you. So I'm happy that we're doing this episode. Hopefully, you can find synergies with other
For
accounting
sure.
firms.
For
So
sure.
so that's great. Let me change subject, and I'm gonna talk about something that has nothing to do. That is basically a question that I ask everyone here in Humans in Accounting. It has to do with food. My question is, what's your favorite food? You can only tell me one.
One. Okay. I'll be biased, but I think my favorite food is just a food that I grew up with. So my mom is Ethiopian background.
Uh huh.
And so I grew up eating Ethiopian food mostly when we went to weddings. And so it was always a treat when you got to eat the stew that had at least 10 onions chopped up and a whole bunch of spice. And there was eggs and chicken, and sometimes there was meat. And it's like my absolute favorite. So I have to say Ethiopian food, hands down.
All right, perfect. And is there like a specific name? Because I'm curious, and I'm gonna just Google up the name of
Yeah.
your favorite. So tell me
Yeah.
that
So
name.
it's called Dorowat, which is Douatt. And it's basically a chicken stew that they cook for hours. Like the base, I'm not even exaggerating. You have to chop at least 10 large onions as a base. And then at the end, they'll put boiled eggs inside. And then you
Okay.
eat it with like this sour flat dough bread that's super spongy. It's a little tart called injera. And yeah, that's the one dish I could eat all the time. Although you need like ginger ale to like chase it back because the indigestion from the spice is not a joke.
We are recording this, as everyone knows. I'm in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and we're recording this at 1:27. And the truth is that I haven't had lunch yet, and I'm imagining that. Does it have cheese? Does it have
No,
cheese or
no,
not?
no, it doesn't have
No.
cheese. It's usually like it's the main dish, and then
Right.
you'll usually have yogurt on the side, cheese on the side. It's more like a ricotta cheese that they put on the side, or like cheese curds, and then maybe like veggies. So it's like usually the stew is the middle, but it has like side dishes, similarly to how Koreans have like the side dishes that
Right.
come with the main food. Yeah, so that's how it usually comes. So you'll get like cheese, yogurt, like a tomato salad, maybe like another veggie dish, and it's like one big platter that they serve. And so usually like two, three people we eat from one plate because that's the tradition. It's like a shared plate experience.
Perfect. And right now, do you still have this food like on a regular Wednesday, or you gotta?
Yeah, occasionally, I mean, I will probably eat something called shiro, which is like a little bit more easier to prepare because if you're
Right.
gonna make the doro, you need at least like 2 days prep. You gotta chop
Right.
onions, open all the windows to your house, or else you're gonna forever smell like exactly what you cooked. So, not as common, but like at least I would say at least like once a month. But the other dishes
Okay.
I can have like more frequently as I wish because I can just whip it up within 15 minutes. The other one takes at
Okay.
least like 6 to 8 hours.
I'm gonna see. if there's like a Ethiopian restaurant here in Buenos Aires, there are restaurants.
Think so. I would think so.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
not one that I'm imagining right now, but I'll do my research. And if I go within the next week or so to one, I'll get a picture and I'll send you, and you tell me
Dude,
if it
yeah,
looks
yeah.
good
Send
or
it
not.
over. It's spicy, so be prepared, you know? It's
I
really
like spicy.
spicy. Yeah, yeah.
I like Argentinian spicy, which is not like really really spicy, but I like spicy. I
Like
like
ours
spicy.
is a flavor spice, but it definitely is very spice forward. Like I wouldn't say it's as spicy as Indian, because sometimes Indian can be very spicy,
Right.
Indian food, but it's up there for sure. It's take it in a little at a time till you get used to the spice profile.
I'll definitely check it out, and I'll let you know. Thank you for answering me that question. Obviously,
Absolutely.
it's the first. I've been asking this question for I don't know over 50 interviews that I made so far. This is the first one. It's the first one that I guess gave me this answer. But well, at least we're gonna have one vote for Ethiopian food, which is great, and you inspired me just to try it. So thank you for that.
You never
Even
know.
let's
Might be
go
your
back.
favorite. It might be your favorite
Yeah.
new dish.
Absolutely. Let's go back. I want to go back to your business while you told me about this rebranding. But I want to ask you this: 7 years that you've been in business. Let me ask you for two things. First, like, what's the first thing if I ask you for a milestone, an achievement that you've got that you can think of, and then also a separate question. Tell me a mistake, like a mistake that you made either in the early years or last week that you've learned. Again, what are the two things that comes to mind when I ask you those two questions?
Yeah, so I think a huge milestone for me that sort of made me realize that I was building something unexpectedly bigger than what I imagined was when I started hiring my first team members. So it
Right.
was, it was a very nerve-wracking experience because it's like, how am I gonna, bring someone online? We are virtual. So that means, we don't have any in-person meetings with the team. Everything is done through the trust of online. And so I think that has made a huge it changed the trajectory of my business, right? So
Okay.
now, as of today, we're at a team of 8, and that includes like we have separations of like different departments. So we have our leadership team that includes like the operations manager, we have our quality assurance team, and then we have the actual accountants. And having those different departments today has only enhanced our service offerings just because everything goes through, multiple people's hands to make sure that we're providing the best quality going forward. But then a mistake that was also tied to this milestone was really not having a proper documented onboarding process. It's a lot of times in the accounting world, it's a rush of work that comes in towards the end of the year or the beginning of the year before April. You're finding that, oh, I just need to hire that one more person temporarily. And hopefully they'll fit into the team and it'll become permanent. And when people come on board without understanding the culture and the type of team environment that you're trying to build, you're gonna occasionally, get a couple of mishires where they weren't great fits or they sort of fizzled out. So I think part of the mistakes that we made the first 2 years, despite immediately within 6 months of actually, no. Within 6 months of becoming an accounting firm, we hired our first no, actually, I hired my first accountant month 2
Okay.
of operating my firm, and that was just from family and friend connections, so that was a lot easier. But when we started going out to people who we didn't necessarily know, and now we have to qualify them and sort of check their backgrounds, the mistake that we made was we took a little bit longer to make sure that there were certain standardized process, there were certain videos, certain information that the person could have to see if they even wanted to fit in with our culture, let alone if they were who we wanted to join our team.
Well, that's great. And but when did you create all this? Like all this process, the onboarding process. When was it?
So the
Uh,
first time that we created it was probably 4 years back, and every year we update and refine it, and we add new videos and we make certain changes. And now I finally have handed off onboarding to my leadership team and said it was me who used to do all of the onboarding with all the documentations, but now someone else is able to take over that piece for me.
Whoa, that's interesting to know. So each year you refine it and you add like something else, like new information. And now I'm thinking like the onboarding process that we have here at South Offices, and the truth is that yeah, I don't know how much we are updating it. Now you made me think that maybe we need just to do an update on the the videos and the process. But yeah, sometimes there's like a new tech stack or a new way to do something better. And
Or
it's
even just from
super.
experience, from experience with our team, we realize, oh, hey, this is a really important piece of our culture. We need to emphasize a little bit more. And so once a year, my operations manager and I, we sit down, we look at all of our client workflows. So it's not just related to onboarding team members, it's also related to onboarding our clients. It's also related to the first 90 days experience that a client has with us.
Right.
So every year we're looking at those systems, we're tweaking them. If it works, fantastic. If there's a piece that we felt just kept getting, a little dicey or it just slowed things down, we always try to refine it. And so then it becomes a process that through experience every year we're building until we get it to be exactly where we want.
Yeah. Iteration until you do it better, and there's always ways just to
Improve.
make things
Yep,
better. So I
absolutely.
think that's something that not only in the onboarding process, you could do it like in any process that you have. Yeah, just keep on moving and getting as better as it can be. That's interesting, and that's great. Let me ask you. I know that you run your firm, you're rebranding now, but you've raised kid, you manage a family farm. How you're able just to manage and juggle like with everything? How do you have a recipe? How you're able just to put priorities on everything?
Yeah, so about 4.5 years ago, my husband and I took a leap to continue his family tradition. He's a seventh generation farmer in Albania, which is like it's next to Greece on the right, and then you have the water, then Italy on the left. So we used to do it where we only had livestock for a few weeks out of the year. So my husband would go for like 6 to 8 weeks, raise the livestock, and then sell them. And then we said, why don't we do it full time? And so we took the leap. And it's funny. I always joke that I have my day job, which is, supporting my husband with the farm. We do both meat and dairy, and it's primarily cattle. So it's mostly like cows and calves that we raise. And then we do have like sheep and goats as a secondary livestock. And then the afternoons are when I'm an accountant. And the reason is because when we're in Europe, 2 p.m. is 8 a.m., typically US time. So I get to have like two careers in the same day. So we have the morning shift and then the afternoon shift. I mean, the biggest thing I would say has been a success for us or for me in order to maintain it is having a team. Like I after 4 years of being in business, I realized I said I can't maintain the lifestyle that I want with raising my two children, and we
Right.
travel quite a bit, and we have the farm without having some, if not majority of the operations delegated to someone else. And so having the team, everybody has their roles and responsibilities. I still am, the overseer, making sure that tasks are on board. But now, majority of my job is really on the marketing, networking, being part of onboarding as I pass the relationship on to my team. And that's it. Right. Of course, when issues come up, we have a roundtable where leadership sits down, we review everything once a week. We have our Monday morning huddles just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But it's really about delegation because without that, you are going to very quickly get overwhelmed. And there is no time to do, all of this dot, dot, dot extra things outside of running the business.
Even did you also have a team for the family farm, or is it
Yeah, we
just
do. We
you
do.
do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We had to. In the beginning, it was just my husband and I, but then we very quickly were able to get farmhand and even with the meat store to get his family involved. So we very quickly built the team because we do come back and forth between the United States and Albania, just because our lives are still between the two continents.
Great. What's the best part, the part that you like the most about the farm? Sorry, now I'm
No,
interested in
no, it's
the in
okay.
the in the farm.
My kids being that close to nature, and they get
Right.
to, whenever the sheep, unfortunately, does not accept the lambs, having to bottle feed the lambs and seeing my kids
Well,
get involved there, or just understanding, okay, this is the mix of feed that we have to give the cows, and seeing my 2-year-old kind of like lug the bucket as he like throws very small amounts, but it's the effort, right, of food in front of each of the cows, and seeing them not be afraid to interact with the livestock. It's the best feeling, and it's the best thing that I feel like I could have given them for their childhood, to be raised around, animals like that.
I think that's great that you have that possibility. So yeah, I think that's great that that you're able just to share that with your family, with
Yeah.
your kids, with
Yeah.
your children.
Yeah.
So that's great. On that note, I wanna ask you. Um, I'm sure there are listeners and the future, and there are female entrepreneurs who who feel that they have either just to choose between the professional ambition for maybe creating their accounting firm, or maybe doing something else that has to do with their professional ambition and their family life. What's maybe a good advice that you can give this female entrepreneurs watching or listening to this podcast in the future?
Yeah, I mean, you have to know what you want. I
Right.
knew early on that I wanted to have a lifestyle where I was still at breakfast with my kids, and I still took them to the library in the middle of the day, and I still am available for the nighttime routine. So my clients from the beginning would see that my kid is in the background. I would say, "Oh, excuse me for 1 minute. Let me just give my daughter a toy to keep her occupied while we do the call." I did not hide any version of being a mom in my business. A lot of the marketing and the relationships that I've built have really stemmed from, yeah, I'm doing both, and if it doesn't work for you, then this is not a relationship I'm interested to have. And the same goes for clients. If they're like, "Oh, you know, I only had certain time blocks where I would do client meetings. And if it became an issue where they're like, oh, you only have certain availabilities, or it doesn't work, or this, that, I'll say, okay, thank you so much for your service. I don't think we're the right match." And that's
Right.
how we moved forward. So know what you want and keep your feet firm to the ground when it comes to that, because there will be people that will come and go, will have comments, will have opinions about why you're doing it this one way. But as long as you feel happy and you're satisfied and it fits your family's goals, nobody else can say anything to you but you. So I
I
think
love
that's
that.
the biggest thing. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that, and that extends not only to female entrepreneurs. That's an advice like for everyone. Just know what you want. Like take 1 second and know exactly where's your north, where you're heading, and then just do stuff in order just to go to that north. So that's great advice. And last one on advice, and just to wrap up the episode, I like just to ask this question. Maybe what's a good advice that you could have given a younger version of Eman, or when you started your business, or that yeah someone else could have given you?
Yeah.
What's that advice?
Yeah, I would say be prepared for your business to change as your life changes. So as you go through seasons of life, right? When I started my firm, I had one child, I lived in a particular part of the country. It looked one way. Now having two, we're going to have our third child, we're moving on to being between two continents. Be prepared for your business to change its shape as you change through your seasons of life. And as long as you have that as a mentality, you will never be caught off guard, or you'll never feel frustrated because you're trying to maintain this vision that you had at the beginning versus understanding that there's going to be different iterations of it, and just accept that, like work with it, like understand, okay, I have time to work 60-hour weeks because I'm motivated and I don't have children. And now it's like, oh, okay, things are changing. I need to change my availability. So as long as you have that understanding in the back of your mind, you will always find success, even if it doesn't look the same every year, every 3 years, every 5 years.
I love that. I didn't know. Hold on, you're expecting now your third
Yeah,
child?
we're expecting our third by the end of the year. Yeah.
Congrats,
Thank
congratulations.
you so much.
That's great, and yeah, it's absolutely true what you're saying. I'm sure there are listeners after watching this episode. They just want to reach out to you. Maybe there's like an accounting firm owner who does only tax and is looking for a partner who can help him out with the bookkeeping, and maybe they want just to reach out with you. Or maybe there's this female entrepreneur who wants just to have some more advice, or someone
Sure.
who wants advice on a farm. What's the best way just to reach out to you, Eman?
Yeah, this way is going to be through LinkedIn. That's where I'm the most active. So I can give you the information and you can tag it. But LinkedIn is going to be the best way to reach out to me. It's where I like to talk to people, where I build community. So feel free to shoot me a message anytime through there.
Absolutely. When we upload this episode, I'll make sure just to tag you in. Eman, it was super great. I'm super happy that we were able to finally just to record this episode. Thank you so much for being part of Humans in Accounting. All right.
And likewise, thank you for having me, Alex. I appreciate the opportunity to just speak a little bit about what I do.
Thank you. Bye bye.